Greetings and salutations, Mega Wizard 79 here with another episode of Touhou Scarlet Curiosity. So, in our last episode, we returned to Genbu Ravine to basically complete, exploring the entire location, and we finally got to meet the, elusive, Python that was still pretty well sealed up until we conveniently got there. Wonder what Star Sapphire was doing, to be honest. Well, the Forest of Magic didn't turn out to be the right place, so maybe it was this forest. But yeah, basically, Star Sapphire, Luna Child, and the third one that we have yet to meet, her name, Sunny Milk, those three fairies together form what is known as, the Fairies of, Light. The reason they're called that is because each one of them draws their powers from the three brightest forms of light in the sky. Basically, Sunny Milk obviously gets her power from the sun, Luna Child, the moon, and basically Star Sapphire gets her power from the stars. Oddly enough, though, basically, you know, if you know anything about basically astronomy, technically all three of them get their power from a sun, because the sun's a star. And the moon is technically starlight that is, is basically sunlight that's just basically, oh, how do you put it? Basically it's just reflected by the moon. You know, it's not as potent, you know, given the fact that it produces no heat, it just produces light, but, you know, it is still technically sunlight. You know, no sun, basically we wouldn't be able to see our moon. Plain and simple. But yeah. What do you call it? Like, those three fairies, interestingly enough, they don't live in this forest. Basically, their home is actually, just, near, basically they live in a tree right next to Hakori Shrine. Hakori Shrine being the, place where basically, Remiu, the, Shrine Maiden, basically resides in. But yeah, like, those three fairies, they are, a real rambunctious bunch of troublemakers. I mean, seriously, they would give Loki a run for his money, or I guess technically Puck, if we're comparing fairies to fairies, Puck being the servant of, Oberon from any, you know, basically, if you've read a Midsummer Night's Dream or know anything about Arthurian lore, basically, you'll see Puck. Yeah, Puck is basically just, Oberon's, servant slash jester. He just basically, for the most part, just does whatever Oberon tells him to do. Unfortunately, he's not very smart. Or rather, I mean, he's very smart. It's just, what do you call it? He just, he's just clever enough to basically misconstrue what Oberon says. Because you see, the thing is that basically when Oberon speaks, he pretty much just, gives him, you know, basically, like, for example, basically, when Oberon basically was watching those, young lovers in, Midsummer Night's Dream, basically, you know, he basically felt pity for them, and basically went like, okay, Puck, go down there and basically make sure that they fall in love. Like, basically, like, the thing is, though, he wasn't specific on which humans. He just said, basically, just have this woman and this guy fall in love, and, like, he was very, very general in what he was saying, so, yeah, hence the events of Midsummer Night's Dream, where pretty much everyone was falling in love with the wrong person, and then Oberon had to step in, get everyone to fall asleep, and then, yeah, like, just, it was a mess. It was just a mess, and, mind you, I am, like, royally paraphrasing here, like, but that's basically the long and the short of it. It was just one big hosh-posh of nonsense, and the only reason Oberon was just, pretty much okay with all of it is that basically, you see, Titania, she was involved in this, and, well, I think basically, she ended up doing something that basically just made Oberon laugh, and as a result, basically, Puck, he forgave Puck just because of that simple fact. Because for the most part, basically, like, the reason he was just doing this is because, like, Titania was kind of also, just interfering like she always does with human affairs and stuff. And basically, he was just what do you call it? Like, while he's very patient when it comes to basically what Titania does, because he just loves her that much, that he just lets her do whatever the hell she wants, and also the simple fact that she can just talk her way out of anything with Oberon. Like, she's the only being in the Kingdom of the Fairies that can just basically get Oberon to change his mind. Mostly because, well, she's just that beautiful. There are very few women that actually can compete with the Queen of the Fairies. Like, there is just very few. Plain and simple. Like, even Guinevere, basically, in spite of the fact that she's like known for her ravishing beauty and stuff, she can't really compete with Titania. She can contend with her, but the fact of the matter is that Titania is just much in a whole other league. But yeah. But anyway, back on topic though. So essentially those three fairies, Luna Child, Sunny Milk, and Star Sapphire, they're just straight up mischievers. They just basically screw around with humans and stuff, basically using their abilities to basically manipulate light to basically do whatever the heck they want, creating illusions and whatnot. One thing I do have to say though is that basically once again I kind of misspoke. In regards to Luna Child, she actually doesn't have it does not have powers similar to Sayuka. God darn it. But yeah, Sayuka basically, she basically has the ability to basically control time and space. Being able to alter both to her will. Basically, Luna Child can't do that. I mean, yeah, she can bend light and and alter your perspective of things, but basically the thing that she does though is that her main little gimmick is that she can basically mute sound. Essentially what she mostly uses it for pranking. For example, she does it mostly to conceal herself. She says it's the ultimate little cheat when you're basically playing hide and seek, because she can she can be standing right behind you, but because she muted herself, you would never know. But yeah, so essentially that's what she can do. She can basically mute sound. Of course it has limits. She can't it's not like she can mute sound for 1,000 miles or something. No, she can only do it for specific targets and whatnot, like herself, or say for example, she basically just oh crumbs. Say she walked into a room or something and she ended up dropping a glass bottle. Well, she could basically mute it so that, the glass bottle didn't break. Even though it did break, but you didn't hear it break. So yeah, she basically has the ability to do stuff like that. And it, it is very, how do I put it? It's very limiting, it's not something that you can... it's not something that you would practically use in a fight or anything. She's actually considered basically the weakest of the three, just because of that ability, because that's basically her main shtick. Of course, though, in terms of basically doing pranks, basically she's basically on par, because that's essentially all they do with their abilities. They just basically go around just playing mean-spirited jokes on humans. Which makes me wonder how Remiu, is... I mean, it's really interesting because of the fact that basically Remiu, it's not like she doesn't have a sense of humor, but basically, she doesn't really tolerate, yokai mischief. Case in point, basically there's this, Tanuki, actually, that lives in the human village, and she always like keeps close tabs on her and stuff, just because of the fact, well, Tanukis are known for being pranksters. They're just, what do you call it? Like that's also their shtick. For the most part, basically, in Japanese lore and stuff, pretty much anything, any type of like non-human being, you know, from like ghosts to basically to like Tanukis, foxes especially. Oh boy, fox spirits. They love playing jokes on people. Monkeys. So more or less any type of supernatural being in Japanese lore, 10 times out of 10 they'll just basically be doing pranks for whatever reason, really. Basically. The only human that they usually are not allowed to prank is basically, is basically the Emperor, because the Emperor, he's basically considered to be a, he's basically considered to be a kami, who's basically under, the protection of Lady Amaterasu herself, and well, Lady Amaterasu in Shinto lore, she's not the type of person that you want to fuck around with, just because, well, she is the sun. She is incredibly powerful. She's in charge of all the 800 million kamis. Like seriously, apparently in Shintoism, there's like just tons and tons of kamis, like just a lot of them. What do you call it? Like, you know, if you thought there were a lot of Greek gods, oh boy, you ain't seen nothing yet. But yeah, essentially, what do you call it? Yeah, essentially to put it in context, the what do you call it? The Emperor basically is sort of in a sense kind of deified, like the like how the pharaohs of ancient Egypt were, where basically they were seen as reincarnations of the sons. You know, basically they were, well, not really reincarnations, but more seen as the human embodiment of basically Ra himself. You know, so that's essentially why, you know, for the most part, pharaohs were necessarily not harmed by anybody, because, well, they were seen as basically gods on earth kind of thing. But yeah, what do you call it? So, but all in all, though, I just really do wonder why Remy, for the most part, I guess sort of tolerates those little mischievers, just because of the fact that they, I mean, oopsie. Well, that was a complete and total waste. Oh well, whatever. But yeah, like, you know, it's just you know, at the end of the day, though, like Remy, she's just very very high-strung. Like, she, basically any time, like, you know, a prank is played on her or something, she's, she goes out, she basically she essentially just goes out for, she goes out for blood. Especially if it's like especially if it's a yokai, oh boy, especially if it's a yokai. You know, human, obviously, she'll be, you know, she'll basically hold herself with, but basically a yokai, ho, forget it. If a yokai, like, there was actually this one time where there was this fox spirit that basically was posing as a human, just because of, well, a human child specifically, because he what do you call it, like, well, I don't know if, I'm pretty sure it was a he, just because of the, what do you call it, just because of, basically how he was dressed and stuff. But in any event, though, this this fox spirit basically was posing as a human child at a human school, just for the most part, just to learn how to write properly, because all he could write, like, he was trying to basically learn human writing techniques, because because all he could do was just basically fox writing, and, well, basically, you know, unless you're a fox spirit or another yokai, usually, you won't be able to understand what that is. So, so basically, he just posed as a human, and just basically went in there and just started basically doing stuff. The thing is, basically, the only reason he was kind of the only reason they found out that basically, that there was a yokai in their midst was because of the fact that what do you call it? If he was having trouble with what do you call it? Because you see, the thing is that he didn't have his own notepad, so he couldn't basically jot down notes or anything like that. So if he came across something that he was having a hard time understanding, he would basically write it on the basically on the doors. Because you see, basically in what do you call it? Like Japanese doors, for the most part, they're made out of paper, a specific type of paper, but paper nevertheless. So, he just wrote on it. That's essentially how they found out that there was someone. Speak of the devil, it's Sunny Milk. Now, have at you, monster! Wait, this doesn't look like a monster at all. It is finally my turn! Yeah, I'm way off the mark this time. No, there was a huge toad here. All the fairies here were scared stiff, totally petrified. But for now, he's gone back to the pond to lick his wounds. Is that so? Who or what around here could even injure him? Certainly not a forest full of fragile fairies. Glad you asked, because I was going to tell you anyway. Actually, it was me! I sent that toad packing! Did you now? Tremble in fear, vampire! You may as well just turn around and head back home now. You have my interests. Okay. Just telling me is boring. I want you to show me the power that defeated that giant toad. Oh man, she just walked right into that. But yeah, what do you call it? Back to the fox spirit. So yeah, so basically, what do you call it? Like, they ended up calling Remiu to basically, deal with the, basically the fox. She went there once, and then basically she wrote down, goodbye. So why did you lie about it? Did you think I wouldn't find out? That stupid toad's giving me so much trouble. I just wanted to feel the thrill of saying I beat him. It doesn't seem like that toad has anything to do with the monster I'm after, though. I guess whatever it is, it didn't show up here either. Hey, we get to go to Hakuri Shrine now. Sweet. But just to finish my little story up. So, Fox Spirit basically was at school. They get Remiu to basically try and exercise it. She places some talismans and stuff all over the doors to basically try and ward off the fox. The fox basically writes on the paper, going like, "Your talismans do not." Your talismans do not scare me. Then later, basically, so she's going like, oh, so this yokai's not giving me any respect, huh? So basically, she vows to get rid of the thing, and then basically, so she ends up basically coming there every day. At one point, then Marisu comes there and basically says like, oh, I overheard like this, and then she starts talking to her, and then but you see what the thing is, that was actually the fox in disguise, because you actually find out that basically Marisu, she wasn't in this chapter at all. She was only talked about in the end, going like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. But basically, she ends up writing on the thing, and then like the fox basically noticed, in Marisu's disguise that she had nodded off, so he writes on the thing going like, your sleeping priestesses do not frighten me. But yeah, so basically, at the end of it all, basically, Remiu doesn't get a chance to really do anything about it. It's actually this. It's actually this. The bookseller of the Human Village who actually comes, and she found out about the fox very early on, and she basically knew the whole thing about it. So basically, what she does is that she basically left some talismans on the door that basically were just written in fox language that basically said that were basically just ads for her store saying like we got books even a fox can read. So the fox basically from now on basically he still poses as a human, still goes to the school, but basically now he basically goes to her to basically get a notebook, so now he doesn't have to write on the wall anymore, thus not giving himself away. And then basically in exchange, she doesn't even charge any money. She's just going like, just give me the full notebook and I'll give you an empty one. And basically as a result, she gets a whole bunch of new yokai books, because yokai books are basically books that are written by yokais. So basically it's a win-win for her because she collects those things. Are you going to Hakuri Shrine? Like you said, it's weird that Remyu hasn't done anything yet. What is she planning? Would you like to record your adventure? Yes, please. Yeah. But, alright, please, rate, comment, subscribe if you so desire, and basically stay tuned, because we're going to be going to Hakuri Shrine, where we can meet Remyu in the person, just like we did with Aya. But until that time, though, this is Mega Wizard 79, bidding you all adieu.